Before the flood, something was happening on earth that most people have never been told. Angels abandoned heaven. They came to earth. They took human wives, and their children became something the world had never seen. They were called the Nephilim, and they are the reason God sent the flood. In the earliest chapters of Genesis, the earth was still young. Generations had passed since Adam and Eve were cast out of the Garden of Eden. Humanity was spreading across the land. Cities were being built. Families were growing. The earth was filling with life. But something else was watching. From the heavens, beings of immense power looked down upon the earth. They watched as humanity multiplied. They watched as the daughters of men grew in number. And according to Scripture, they made a choice that would change everything. Genesis chapter 6, verse 1 and 2. When human beings began to increase in number on the earth, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. The sons of God. In the original Hebrew, the phrase is B'nai Ha-Elohim. And throughout the Old Testament, this phrase refers to one thing: angels. In the book of Job, chapter 1, verse 6, the sons of God present themselves before the Lord, and Satan is among them. These are not human beings. These are heavenly beings, spiritual entities standing in the very presence of God. And Genesis 6 tells us that these beings looked upon human women and desired them. They were not content to remain in heaven. They were not content with the role God had given them. They chose to leave. The Apostle Jude confirms this in the New Testament. Jude chapter 1, verse 6. And the angels who did not keep their positions of authority, but abandoned their proper dwelling, these he has kept in darkness, bound with everlasting chains for judgment on the great day. They abandoned heaven. They came down to earth, and they took human wives for themselves. But what they produced was something that should never have existed. Genesis chapter 6, verse 4. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown. The Nephilim. The word itself comes from the Hebrew root naphal, which means to fall, the fallen ones. They were the offspring of angels and human women, and they were not ordinary children. The text describes them as heroes of old, men of renown, mighty beings whose reputation echoed across the ancient world. But an ancient Jewish text takes us even deeper. The book of Enoch, which is not part of the biblical canon, but was directly referenced by the Apostle Jude in the New Testament, describes what happened in striking detail. According to this ancient account, 200 angels, known as the Watchers, descended upon Mount Hermon. They made a pact with one another, a covenant. They swore an oath that they would go through with what they had planned. Their leader was called Semyaza, and together they left heaven forever. They took human wives, and their wives bore children. But these children grew to enormous size. The ancient account describes them as giants, towering over ordinary men, beings of terrifying strength and insatiable hunger. And they did not come in peace. The Nephilim spread violence across the earth. According to the ancient account, they consumed everything humanity produced. When the food ran out, they turned against the people themselves. They devoured. They destroyed. They filled the earth with blood. But the fallen angels did something else. The ancient text tells us that the Watchers taught humanity forbidden knowledge. They taught men the art of war, the forging of weapons and swords. They taught women the art of enchantment and sorcery. They revealed secrets that were never meant for human minds. The earth became unrecognizable. And Genesis confirms the devastation. Chapter 6, verse 5. The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. Every inclination, only evil all the time. This was no longer the world God had created. The bloodline of humanity was being corrupted. The earth was drowning in violence. The boundary between heaven and earth had been shattered, and something had to be done. Genesis chapter 6, verse 6. The Lord regretted that he had made human beings on the earth, and his heart was deeply troubled. God looked upon what the earth had become. He saw the Nephilim. He saw the violence. He saw the corruption that had spread into every corner of creation, and he made a decision that would reshape the entire world. Chapter 6, verse 7. So the Lord said, I will wipe from the face of the earth the human race I have created, and with them the animals, the birds, and the creatures that move along the ground, for I regret that I have made them. The flood was not random anger. It was not the act of a God who lost his temper. It was a response to something that had gone so far that creation itself was at risk of being permanently and irreversibly corrupted. The Nephilim, the fallen angels, the violence and the forbidden knowledge had brought the earth to the edge of no return. But in the middle of all of it, God saw one man. Verse 8. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. One man. In a world consumed by darkness. One man who had not been corrupted. And through that one man, God would start again. The floodwaters came. They covered the mountains. They swallowed the cities. They buried the Nephilim and everything they had built. And when the waters receded, the world was born again. But here is what most people miss. The fallen angels who started all of this were not simply destroyed. According to both Jude and the Apostle Peter, they were imprisoned. 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 4. God did not spare angels when they sinned, but sent them to Tartarus, putting them in chains of darkness to be held for judgment. Tartarus, a word used nowhere else in the entire New Testament. A place so deep and so dark that the Bible needed a word it had never used before to describe it. The angels who abandoned heaven, who corrupted humanity, who fathered the Nephilim. They are still there, bound in chains, in absolute darkness, waiting for judgment. The story of the Nephilim is not a myth. It is not a metaphor. It is recorded in the earliest pages of Scripture as the event so catastrophic that God reset the entire world because of it. And it all began when angels looked down from heaven and chose to fall. But the fallen angels were not the only angels to rebel against God. Before they fell to earth, there was another fall, the first fall. The most powerful angel ever created looked at the throne of God and decided he wanted it for himself. The war that followed shook the heavens. That story is on screen right now.